What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode with my pal Alex and Feisty Pants.
I'm in total disgust, not for who got in, but for who didn't get votes. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Alex's Toy Show. I'm here talking about the results of the Hall of Fame balloting, voting for 2017 Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. First, I need to say a congratulations to the people who got in. Class of 3 this year. Jeff Bagwell, Tim Raines, thank God, and Ivan Rodriguez. Now, a couple of people almost made it. Trevor Hoffman, who I voted for. If you guys remember my little chart here from the other day, the check marks and the names of everybody I voted for, and then down on the bottom I voted for, where'd it go? Oh, it was right there. I'm sorry, I thought it was closer to the bottom. And then I voted 9 guys off the original ballot, and new this year I voted for Jorge Posada. And, yeah, I'm just disgusted. Bagwell gets in, 86% of the vote, point something, and Tim Raines, 86%, a little lower than Bagwell. 381 votes for Bagwell, 380 for Tim Raines. Tim Raines shouldn't have taken 10 years to get into the Hall of Fame. And I'm thankful that he did get in this year finally, because it's his last year, and then he would have fallen off the ballot like Alan Trammell did. Alan Trammell belongs in the Hall of Fame, but nobody voted for him enough over the course of 10 years for him to get into the Hall of Fame. So, he doesn't get in. But, you know, there's going to be other players that get in that he was better than. And, you know, it's just a huge injustice. I watched MLB Network coverage. They covered the, not the draft. I was about to say the draft. They covered the voting, and then they had this huge debate. It was a big 4-hour program. Hats off to you guys. You guys are all phenomenal, every one of you. I enjoy. I can't say I enjoy it enough, because every time I tune in, there's something awesome you guys are talking about. It's always something. I can't complain at all. There's absolutely nothing to complain about. You guys are the best. Hold on, I gotta drink this coffee. So let's see. So Bagwell gets in, Tim Raines, congratulations, and Ivan Rodriguez. Now, Ivan Rodriguez got 336 votes for 76% of the vote. Just missing 327 votes for Trevor Hoffman, made 74% of the votes. You need 75% to get in, so he just missed it. And he climbed from his percent of the votes last year, where he got 67% of the votes on his first year. This was his second year on the ballot. So next year, he'll probably get in. That's kind of how it works. You trend upwards, provided there's not a large class of players coming in that, you know, demand to get in. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's see. A bunch of other players climbed in percentages also from their voting last year, except for one person, Curt Schilling. Last year he had 52% of the vote. In this year, in his 5th year, drops to 45% of the vote. Not getting in. But he's still got 5 more years, so we'll see. Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds, they had 45 and 44% of the vote. They climbed about 9 points each to 54 and 53%. Was a little concerned because, you know, they were saying prior to that, you know, on the big debate there, that, you know, they could eventually climb high enough to get in. And I'm like, I hope not. Let's see. Mike Mussina, hopeful for him. This was his 4th year on the ballot. He climbed to 51%. He had a mere 43% last year. Edgar Martinez, who was another guy I voted for, he had 43% last year, climbed to 58 this year. So I mean, he's got 2 more years left on the ballot to get in, and I hope he can make that 25 something points there. That's a lot of ground to cover for Edgar Martinez. And you know, he's a position player turned designated hitter, predominantly for the remainder of his career. And, I mean, when that guy could hit, I could tell you he could hit. And it was quite something. I mean, he's definitely... There's this adorable little old lady in a walker walking around my car. I was a little concerned she was turning towards me, but she kept walking, so we're good. Jesus Christ. Where do I find these people? So if he asked me if he should get in, I think so. I think he's got the numbers to do so. And, I mean, you know, he's going to lay the groundwork for other DH cases like David Ortiz. David Ortiz has got Hall of Fame numbers. He belongs in the Hall of Fame, I think. But he's a DH. You going to let him in? Fucking of course you are. You should let in Edgar Martinez. Everybody should listen to that argument. Here's one I was disappointed with. I voted for Lee Smith. Lee Smith is a closer from before you guys, most of you guys were born. And not all of you guys. Some of you guys know who Lee Smith is. And like when Lee Smith came into the game, you're like, ah, shit, it's over. He was on the ballot from the grandfathered rule of 15 years on the ballot. Here she goes. You see her? There she goes. Why are you walking around my car? I don't know. And this was his 15th year, and he only got 34% of the vote, and he falls off the ballot. That's a damn shame. Fred McGriff had 20.9%. He climbed to like 21 point something this year. That was his 8th year on the ballot. He's got 2 years to get in like Edgar Martinez does. A bunch of other guys. Larry Walker gaining a mere 21% of the vote. Jeff Kent, while he's got some good numbers, I mean, he wasn't one that I voted for, but there's a lot of people who saw him play that made a case for it, and he got a mere 16% of the vote. Sammy Sosa, 7% of the vote. I'm sorry, he had 7% last year. He climbed to 8% this year. It's not looking good for Sammy. Sheffield, 13%. Billy Wagner, 10% of the vote. And here's what killed me. It wasn't the fact that Manny Ramirez, a caught red-handed cheater of baseball, got 23% of the vote. But Jorge Posada, a proven champion of, you know, he was a catcher, played for the Yankees his entire career. He saw a ton of World Series rings. He's got the numbers to put up on the board. Gets 3.8% of the vote. What the hell is that? 3.8% of the vote? That means he doesn't even make it to a second year. You need 5% of the vote. Here are the rules real quick. Let me go over this. You get to cast up to 10 votes. You stay on the ballot 10 years. And while on those 10 years, you need to maintain 5% of the vote to stay on the ballot. So if you drop below that 5%, even if you're in your like 4th year, gone. You need 75% of the vote to get in into the Hall of Fame. And here's Jorge Posada with 3.8% of the vote in his first year. It's just not going to happen. Vlad Guerrero, I thought was a legit chance to get into the Hall of Fame. He made 71% of the vote. So him and Trevor Hoffman are probably looking to get in next year, which is good because I think that's well deserved. Tim Wakefield was new to the ballot this year. He got a whole 1 vote for 0.2% of the vote. Edgar Renteria and Jason Varitek got 2 votes each for a mere 0.5% of the vote. None of them will be on the ballot next year. They fall off the ballot. All these other guys that were new to the ballot didn't get any votes at all. Mike Cameron, J.D. Drew, Derek Lee, Melvin Mora, Carlos Guillen, who I thought would get some votes, Casey Blake, Orlando Cabrera, Pat Burrell, Freddie Sanchez, Arthur Rhodes, and Matt Stairs. See you later. However, I'm disgusted that I don't know if disgusted is the right word, because it's not proven that Ivan Rodriguez used steroids, except if you're Jose Canseco and you wrote your book and you named Ivan Rodriguez in your book as to handing out steroids. I do take Jose Canseco's word for a small amount of truth. I mean, anyone can write a book and say, yes, these people use steroids. But, I mean, you're not sworn under oath in a court of law to say, yes, my book is factual. Here's the book of law. Here's my hand saying that it's factual. So, I mean, I do have to... But, I mean... I'm like so tongue twisted. Look at Ivan Rodriguez. He was a good defensive catcher, or I should say a great defensive catcher with good numbers. And then all of a sudden he has great numbers, like out of nowhere. Just like, who the hell is 43 years old and pitching no-hitters? Y'all do a little bit of research there. So here's Ivan Rodriguez. He plays for Texas Rangers. Jose Canseco playing for the Texas Rangers. Rafael Palmeiro playing for the Texas Rangers. Juan Gonzalez. Come on. I think Juan Gonzalez used and decided it was a bad idea, and then you saw his career turn to crap. Rafael Palmeiro came to Texas and was rejuvenated because he used. I think Ivan Rodriguez used. I have to say, Jose Canseco might have an inkle of truth there. I mean, there's no proof. There's no proof. He's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, you know, you could say that it doesn't even matter anymore, but I think it matters. I think it totally matters. Fucking Manny Ramirez, though. 23% of the vote on his first year. I don't care what kind of numbers he put up. The man used steroids. He broke the code of baseball. He cheated. He should be... You're going to let in Manny Ramirez. Not that you're letting him in, but if you're gonna... then you need to put Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're going to put in a proven cheater. You're going to have to put in all the proven cheaters. How about that? Think about that. That is a good debate. You're wondering who used steroids and who didn't use steroids? Well, Manny Ramirez was caught a few times using steroids in his baseball career. He served several suspensions for them. He's a cheater. He shouldn't get into the Hall of Fame. You're going to put him in the Hall of Fame? Then you need to go call up Pete Rose. You need to go dig up Shoeless Joe Jackson's grave. And you need to put them in the Hall of Fame. Because if you're going to put in one kind of cheater, you need to put in all the kinds of cheaters. Yeah. You should put in the whole fucking White Sox team that Shoeless Joe Jackson played for. Put them all in the Hall of Fame. I don't care how good they were or how good they weren't. You're going to put in one cheater, you're going to put in them all. That's what I got to say about that. So, in closing... the Baseball Hall of Fame has disappointed me yet again. There was the year no one got in. Okay, well, I wasn't completely disappointed. I was disappointed that no one got in. But I was thankful that they didn't let in a bunch of cheaters. Bonds and Clemens here climbing 9 points on their previous score. I'm not overly concerned about. I thought Sammy Sosa would really fall off the ballot this year. But instead he gained 1 point to 8%. Next year is a whole nother story because there are players on the ballot next year. Google this, 2018 Baseball Hall of Fame ballot. The people there are listed. There's a lot of good players on that list that are going to get in. There's going to be other players that you've never heard of, like Casey Blake. I had to look and see who that was. I was like, what? And anyway, no offense against Casey Blake. I just, you know, he played in a time where I didn't pay a lot of attention, and I didn't really know his name. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So, there's a lot of players on the next year's ballot that are going to take votes away from these people who gain percentages. And people down at the bottom, like Billy Wagner, Gary Sheffield, and Sammy Sosa, you're going to see a significant drop. And they may not make it onto the ballot the following year. What happens when Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter come onto the ballot in 2019 and 2020? I mean, they're going to be close to unanimous votes. I mean, look at Ken Griffey Jr. You're going to unanimously vote him into the Hall of Fame. How can you turn away Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter? I want to know who the people are that don't vote for the two of them. That's fucking bullshit. Not because I'm a Yankee fan, but because they're two of the greatest players that played the game. And they should just be unanimously voted in. That's what I got to say about that.